Hey, Joe.
Evening, Jerry. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. What's going on?
Yeah, not too much. Let's just waiting for Adam Jones to reappear. He logged in and was here, but with no video. So he is currently being his own IT technician and sorting that out, and he should reappear shortly.
Lovely.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Speak of the bomb.
Bob, good to see you, and we can see you now, which is always a plus.
Right.
Lovely. Well, I think the waiting room is slowly filling up, and the participants are in. So I say we get started, and as people join, they can pick up where we're at. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe, and I'll be I guess moderating this evening, but essentially just trying to stay out of the way of these two rugby legends as we navigate their careers and hopefully hear a few mildly entertaining stories. Not to big you up too much, guys. Thank you all for your generous donations to the foundation and supporting us at the club and the good work we try to do in the community. And the way that we will kind of moderate this evening is I'll take the guys through their career. But if you've got any questions that you really want to put to either Jerry or to Adam, please do send them in via the chat function. And when we get to either the right point for me, I'll feed them in, or we'll do a bit of questions from you guys at the end. But as something springs to mind, please feel free just to send it in. I probably don't need to big up the two guests too much, but from a little Wikipedia read beforehand, Jerry has 93 appearances for Munster, 41 Ireland caps, a 2 times Champions Cup and Pro 14 winner, and a Grand Slam winner. And Adam Jones has 289 professional club appearances, 30 of which in the famous quarters. An international centurion with 95 Wales caps and 5 Lions caps, a 3-time Grand Slam winner, just to trump you, Jerry, and is also a 5-time Grammy Award-winning musician. But that might be a different Adam Jones, actually, so I may need to re-Google that one.
Same person.
Same person, lovely. I thought you were great in Tool, I have to say. A great band, one of my all-time favourites. I guess before we go back in time to when you guys were tearing up on the pitch, Jerry, welcome to Quins. Kind of a whirlwind time to start any new job, least of all coming in and trying to get your head around the line out. How's it been? How's the first couple of weeks been?
It's been really enjoyable. I've enjoyed getting back on the pitch and getting to know the lads. There's a good group there, and there's some players there who are really keen to drive that, and it makes your job much easier as a coach when the players start to take ownership. So I suppose I would see my job as a facilitator. You're trying to get a feel for the group, and I think when you come in, there's always a little bit of apprehension when you start a new role. But the players and the staff, the coaches, everyone, supporters have been really, really, really welcoming, and that's been, it's been a great start for me so far.
Fantastic. And Adam, you can provide the other side of it. How's it been having Jerry join the group? How's he settled in?
I mean, no, it's good. It's no, he's obviously fantastic player and did a great job in Munster when he was coaching them, and no, the boys respect him straight away, and he knows what he does know about the game and set piece, and knows all knowledge is it's fantastic, and he's it's nice to be on the same team as him after spending many years of him headbutting me.
I will come on to that. I know you two have had some duels against each other on the pitch, and Jerry, when you've been coaching as well, coming up against sides with Adam featuring as part of that. But going from player to coach, for both of you, I guess, how have you found that transition? And kind of, do you keep a lot of the same personality traits that you had when you were on the pitch? Do you carry that into your coaching style, or do you have to try and find a different sort of personality or different persona to be when you're the other side of the white line?
Yeah, I'll jump in there straight away. And that, I went back in coaching. My first foray into coaching was back with Munster, which was my club. So I was coaching a lot of the players that I played with, and there's challenges in that I think, like, good guys that you're friendly with, there's a period of grace that you'll be afforded as a young coach. But I think that on the other side of that, I think sorry, I have a visitor here who's come in. You should be going to bed. So go to bed, Eli.
It's an extra special guest. That is a real bonus.
Yeah. As a young coach, I think it's, you're nervous about. Stop. Hang on a second. Bom, will you take this one for a second?
Adam, let's come to you. Let's come to you first on that, because you were a player at Quins and then sort of made the transition to coaching while you were still playing. How did you find kind of managing that process with the same group of lads?
I think I found it quite strange. I think with, I came in a bit late in my career, so I hadn't been there. I hadn't been in the club as long as Jerry would have been in the Munster sort of setup. So, so there was a little bit. I found it a little bit awkward at times, especially around conversations where you're not playing, etc. And you've got to give a bit of a kick at the backside or that. I found it quite strange. So but no, I slowly grown into it a bit more. I think as you said, Jerry said, you've got a little bit of grace, and if you. And you can live in the fact you've been a Quins player or whatever you've done in the game. If you don't actually put your ideas across, and you don't put your basically if you're winging it, and then the boys soon find out and soon not call you out, but soon the respect sort of goes. So no, look, I enjoy it. It's I didn't have the probably the sort of emotional attachment like Jerry would have to Munster, but over a couple of years playing here, there's a great opportunity to sort of get into the coaching ladder, and the fact to do with a club like this is must be even better.
Fantastic. And Jerry, kind of coming back to your point around going back into coach those group of players who you'd not finished playing with not that long before you then had to take on the coaching reins.
Yeah. It was, I think, like I was saying, and Adam reiterated, you're afforded a period of grace, but the reality is that because rugby is the short-term contracts, the players, they want to win, and they want to win that day. They want to win tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you can't come in and stand up in front of them and say, lads, I'm learning my graft here, and if you give me 18 months, I want to win now. That's the way rugby is. So it is a high pressured environment, but it's in a positive. I think it puts you under pressure, and if you work hard, you'll get there. And I found it very tough at the start, because I suppose everything was fixated on the extrinsic that other people outside of the club would see. So if we won at the weekend with Munster, that was great for me. But if we lost, it was a terrible week. Whereas I think the real value for you as a when you're playing, obviously winning is important, but when you're playing, you just love the game. You love getting to train every day. And that's you learn that from when you're 4 or 5 years old, when you first start to play. Coaching is different, because you love the game, but you're finding a different role for yourself within the squad. And I think that you have to learn that it takes a bit of time to spend, to get experience, and then to be able to pass that on, to feel like you're actually aiding the players. And when you start to do that, when you start to feel like you're empowering the players and you're improving their performance through the week, then winning just becomes a bonus on top of all the interaction you've had during the week. And that's been the coaching journey for me so far. And coming to Quins has been, it's been fascinating for me, because I suppose I'm used to one culture, one type of culture, one type of player, which has very much been Munster, and to come over to Quins, it's really enjoyable to see a different culture and see people who see rugby differently, and to interact with coaches, to work with someone like Adam Jones, to work with Nick Evans, Paul Gustard, Sean Long, the S&C staff. They've got a different angle on the game, and you can learn an awful lot from that. So for me, the biggest thing is to keep my mouth shut at the moment and listen to everyone else,
And Adam, you hear
that hasn't happened.
That's the sort of thing you can say on a call with supporters, but Adam knows the real truth about that, Jerry. Yeah, and Adam, Jerry talks about kind of the group that Guzzy's putting together on the coaching side, and lots of change, even if you look back, 3-4 years ago, to that whole side for for the players, which one must be a massive positive, like to have just different voices and for the players to be exposed to different things. But you look at that group now going into this season or finishing the end of this season. Are you excited by the variety of voices that we've now got around the team at Quins?
Yeah, I think look, he's first and foremost because he's he's been 10 years, sort of 10, 12 years coaching now, and what he's done with Saracens, what he's done with England, he's a great guy to learn off. But it's also great to, like, as Jerry said, about coming in different environments. So obviously played against Munster a lot, so you kind of sort of and played with a few of the boys, you sort of understood what they're about. But it's great to learn. Again, I think what's been good with Guzzy, but he's I don't want to go into a Guzzy loving here, but I'm just, he kind of lets you get involved with everything. So you don't just coach a scrum, we just don't coach a line, you've got to input and everything. And that certainly, that's something I didn't expect when I first started coaching with Guzzy. But it's been great. And look, it's exciting. We're all young coaches, even, from the top down, we've got, but going back to the point of the start, I guess we're all decent players. But it's only you can only kind of rely on that so much, and you've got to become a better coach. You've got to keep learning, keep developing your style, your skills, your presentation, or whatever it is. And so it's probably exciting. And we've the way we've kind of we're getting hopefully we get a few of the new players in soon enough, and we'll start kicking on the rest of the season.
And just quickly before we kind of start going back in time and talking about both of your guys' fantastic careers. Andy, Heath just sent a question in, which I think is quite a good way of wrapping up this little section here. Jerry, in the few weeks that you've been with us, how would you kind of articulate the difference in culture between Munster and Quins?
Well, I think looking at it, I think that the Munster predominantly draws on players that are from around the region, and most of the majority of the players and their families would be Munster supporters. So people who come into the environment, they've grown up with an expectation of what's required from them when they come in, and it's a lot easier to get people to. One of the biggest things when you bring a group together is to get them to understand that everyone has their individual goals, but they have to sacrifice for the team. The team must come first always. When you come into a team like Munster, it's almost ingrained because the players know about it and they've grown up. And when you bring foreign players in, because the majority of players have grown up through the area, it's a lot easier to assimilate those in. I see a challenge in the Premiership, in that because there's a lot more freedom of movement within the market, that to get players to come into the club and for Harlequins, like players are the players Harlequins have compared to the players in the rest of the Premiership, like the talent level is not hugely different. It's not hugely different. The difference is how quickly you can get that group to play for each other and to play for the club.
Yeah.
To be less selfish, to understand that if they sacrifice for the team, that all of their individual goals, some people play the game because they might want to make their mum and dad proud. Some people play the game because they want to play international rugby and they want to use the club side as a stepping stone to that. Some people want to make money. Some people want to just, collect as many accolades as they can through their career. All of those things are fine as long as they're aligned with, putting Quins first. And I think that's more of a challenge in the UK, in the Premiership, so far what I've found. And that's why when I find players taking ownership here and really grabbing the bull by the horns and saying, this is going to be our Quins team, because player ownership, but like Adam will tell you that the best teams are actually coached by the players, that the coaches come in and they will create an environment where the players feel that they can really, really drive it. And that's a key point for me in any team I've been involved with. And I can see that, that's the biggest challenge for me coming to Quins.
Oh, a really honest and genuinely interesting assessment of that difference, where you're kind of drawing from the local area, I guess, around Munster. Adam, would you kind of echo that experience from playing in Wales, kind of with the guys belonging to a region, not needing that extra motivation, I guess, to play for a team.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit. Ours was a bit different because we were a young region. We only started in 2003, and we had the sort of Welsh rugby is very tribal. So Neath, Swansea, Llanelli, Cardiff, Bridgend, they all kind of hate each other. So to put Neath and Swansea together was a lot of I don't know if I can swear, but there was a lot of it was a big issue, and a lot of fans didn't want to come, and so no, we kind of had to build from the start, and we didn't get it right. We didn't. We struggled. It took, especially around the culture. We won the league title in 2004-05, and then 7-8. But that was the 7-8 sort of time was we had to get us through. We had Justin Marshall come in, who was great. He was a superstar now. But we had a guy called Philo Tia come in, and Jerry might have played against him. He had a couple of caps with the All Blacks, big number 8, and we kind of signed him as a big sort of impact player off the last. But when he came in, it was just the sort of standards he drove, and even around culture of no one would blame each other anymore, and there was a lot of backstab. Welsh boys can be a bit bitchy at times, and can be a bit childish, but he kind of drove the standard, and we never quite kicked on to probably where we should have, but certainly we won a couple of league titles and whatnot, but he was the guy who kind of drove that standard, and then you got boys like Tipperick, Alan Wynne, who keep doing that to this day. So 20, 30 years down the line, they'll be the guys who will put the sort of the history and into the Ospreys jersey, rather than because as I said, it's still quite a young team.
And Jerry, sort of building on that point that you made and that Adam kind of backed up there, that the best teams, it's not the coaches necessarily that do all the coaching, that comes from the players and driving the standards, then you're not wanting to let each other down. Was that kind of the way that you approached the game and played the game at Munster in your early career, and kind of as you became more established there as well?
Well, I think if I'm honest, when you're young, you just want to get in the team and play, and you'll do whatever is required to get in there, and you'll do whatever the coaches tell you. But I think that the coaches that I've had, the good coaches, they make you, they're shaping the environment, and not in a patronizing way, but they make you feel like you're driving the team. But the coaches really have to give direction. But if the players don't feel that they have ownership over things, or if they don't feel they've had input into how the team is going to play, well, then it's fine if myself and Adam have a plan for the team, and it works, and it will work, and the players will go out and they will perform and they will execute the game plan, and that works until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, then it's like the players turn around and say, Jerry, Adam, your plan isn't working, as opposed to our plan isn't working, which is is quite a significant difference. Yeah. So I think there's an awful lot of intellectual property within the rugby group as well, and you'd be remiss to not tap into that and talk to the players and say, well, listen, what are you most comfortable doing here? And you're not going to be a complete democrat and give everyone a vote and then come to that, but everyone is in this together. So we're all trying to make Quins the best club that we can. So how can we do that? So let's all talk through it. Let's make plans together, and let's go. And it might be the best plan, it might be the worst plan, but if we're all in it together, we can make it work and we can make it win.
Yeah, and that sense of kind of collective ownership, I guess, of the goal and what the outcome is that everybody wants is something that kind of stems from the top. But if you haven't got the right guys buying into it, then it's kind of it's never going to be a success. And Adam, you talked about kind of getting your hands on some of the new players that are coming in. How excited are you for some of those new signings, particularly Wilco coming in the front row?
Yeah, look, he was. As soon as I saw he was a chance he's going to come, he was, we went pretty hard at him, and no, he's a fantastic scrummager. I guess unfortunately he's got Al Herber, the big giant guy in Stormers, and South Africa ahead of him. But look, he's going to be good. But so that's going to push our Simon Kerr. You already see him in training. He's going to another level. He's going to push Will Collier. We've got Craig Flannery in, and so having some of that. We've been inconsistent set piece wise the last couple of years. So we've got the talent now to actually push on. And, you know,
Yeah.
myself and Jerry work incredibly hard to get all aspects of the set piece up to the level it needs to be to, you know, be at the top end of the Premiership. You know, it's all well and good, you know, having a good game against Exeter one week, and then all of a sudden, you know, you Bristol, you know, cause you a lot of problems the week after. So it's that consistency we need to get to. And but no, all the signings, and I think the boys coming back in as well is, you know, your Nathan Earls, March coming back in, these type of guys. You know, it's like new signings, so it's going to be you know, it's a pretty good team. We're going to be able to, well, actually, it's a pretty good squad. We're going to be able to put out on these Saturday, Wednesday games. So it's you know, we're hoping we can you know, start challenging and getting up to the top end of the table, well, further up.
And on that kind of Saturday, Wednesday, and this is a good time to drop in a question that Lewis Thompson has sent in around kind of that, what that new kind of format is going to look like as we seek to finish these games. I think everyone appreciates it's not ideal and wouldn't be the way if everyone could have what they wanted. I doubt we'd be playing kind of 2 games a week. But from a coaching perspective and the playing perspective, how are you kind of planning at the moment on adapting a typical weekly schedule to fit those number of games in for the rest of the season?
Well, look, we're still like, from my point of view, I'm still getting to know a lot of the players, but I think that there's quite a lot of players who are currently not training with us at the moment. Probably some of the higher profile players, but they, you know, we'll be looking to incorporate them back into training soon. But I think the reality is that, like, you're not going to win anything with just 15 players. You need a squad, and this is going to, you know, the rugby is not like football at all, in that, like, you know, playing a game of rugby is the equivalent of being in a car crash. So there's a recovery needed after that. So it's going to limit our amount of training time, and it's going to mean that we're going to have to do things probably a little bit differently in terms of, as a coach, when you feel you've got 3 pitch sessions leading up to a game and you've got the extra couple of down days, you can probably go harder in some of the pitch sessions and say, well, if we went, you know, reasonably hard on Monday, really hard on Tuesday, give them Wednesday off, go hard on Thursday, give them Friday off, they play Saturday. You don't have that luxury anymore as a coach. So you need to make sure that your plans are there and that they're simple plans that the players can understand and execute, and you're going to get the best out of the players that are there. So we try to adapt our game plan to the strengths of our players, yet all the while keeping in mind that the DNA of what Harlequins as a rugby club stands for, which is attacking rugby. It is going to be a challenge, but I think the teams that prepare well looking forward, you can't just go and play your best 15 every single week. There's a time for that, and that's getting momentum. After that, then you have to start bringing people in and getting them fresh, because the players just simply can't back up 2 games a week for 5 weeks. That's just, it's not feasible at all physically. So it's going to be enjoyable, because from the point of view is a lot of guys are going to go in and going to get a shot that may not have gotten a shot before. So we're going to see where they are, and that's going to give us a real clear, I suppose, it's going to be very transparent where we are as a club and where we are as a squad.
And I guess probably as an unlikely positive to come out of this, Jerry, and you sort of touched it, Adam, I'd come to you on this. The idea that now that whole squad is going to get used and will be playing first team games in the Premiership is surely a bit of an extra carrot for some of those guys who maybe viewed themselves on the fringes or didn't think they were getting the game time they wanted before the enforced layoff for coronavirus, which probably a bit too early to tell, but I imagine you're starting to see them really chomping at the bit to kind of get back out there and prove their point that they're worth playing for the club.
100%. I think, you know, Jerry said, you know, can't just win. It's not going to just be the 15 on the field, you know, who wins these games, who win these titles. It's the squad, and you know, we're pretty deep now at the moment, and this, you know, that's certainly come these Wednesday games, and yes, you know, sure, the boys might have to back up, but you know, it's kind of like I don't know, I guess a tour when you go to the Southern Hemisphere when you play the Wednesday. Yeah. So it's going to be, it'll be interesting. It'll be tough for the boys. It'll be tough for, you know, you probably have to split into sort of 2 teams at some point, and just, you know, the Wednesday team will train on the Monday whilst the other boys are doing a lot less. So no, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to it. It's a different challenge for us as coaches as well. So it's something we've never really been used to. I guess you might have been involved as a player when you play Wednesday, Saturdays and stuff. But no, I think, yeah, look, you see the boys training now. You see some of the, as you said, the boys who wouldn't necessarily think, you know, there's a couple of guys, spring to mind. I won't name names. I think Jerry spoke about one earlier when we were having a chat, and and I said even Simon Kerrod, he's been training house down because he's knows there's going to be a chance, and so look, it's it's exciting for them, isn't it? I know it's going to be a bit weird playing in the crowds with no crowd, but no, it's just a massive chance, a massive opportunity to for these, well, all the boys, but certainly the boys who haven't played much, to have a go in the Premiership and show how good they are.
And Jerry, I'll forgive you for not answering this one, so I'll come back to Adam on this one, kind of talking about that enforced layoff and kind of losing that contact time over coronavirus. Obviously, Adam, you know the boys really well and kind of know what their strengths and weaknesses are. How impressed have you been with how well they applied themselves during lockdown? Because I know that I spent the early days of lockdown eating and drinking like it was going out of fashion, and even a 5K run was quite a challenge.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. It's been an eye-opener how professional they are. Even, it's easy to come back fit. Do you mean it's easy to get fit and run? But even around like the boys who we need to stay big, they've come back in the same weight. Everyone's strength might drop off and whatnot, but because of the access to the gym, and I think Gazzy made the point the other day. In London, some boys don't live in particularly big. It's a flat. There's not much space, but it's really opened my eyes. Some of the boys have come back in. Well, say all of the boys come back in fantastic nick, especially like it's easy if you're a big fella. It's easy to get the weight off if you want to be disciplined for that, because you can do what you need to do, look after your food and stuff, and you run or whatever you want to do. But it's the boys who need to stay big. I can't. They've been fantastic. I got to be honest with you, if this happened to me in my career, I can't imagine the state I would have been coming in after a 15-week layoff. I would have been in horrendous shape. It just shows how professional these boys are now, and they're, I take my hat off to them.
And Jerry, from relentlessly on brand, Bomb. I like that. And Jerry, for you, kind of coming in cold, I guess, to this group of players, in a sense, in terms of being around them every day, would you kind of echo what Adam's saying there around how impressed you've been with kind of the way that they've approached this time away and the shape they come back in?
Well, to be fair, Joe, is that like I didn't have a point of reference to them prior to COVID, so all I can judge them on is what they do when they take the pitch now, and they've their effort and their work rate when they've gone out there has been excellent. I would echo what Adam was chatting about, because it is very, very hard. Like, we all know what it's like when you're in lockdown. You're literally bored and you're just eating away. And for some of the lads to be able to come back in good shape, and for the S&C to be, to say, look, these guys have worked really hard, and to be like, I just take people at, you trust people to start with, like, until they lose your trust. And I've been very happy with how the players have come back so far. The big thing is going to be when we start to play games and see the players pitch. But, so far, so good. And I've been enjoying it.
Excellent. I have to say, I think I was a little optimistic in my size of polo shirt at the start of the season. I wasn't factoring in 4 months at home, eating nothing but whatever I can find in the fridge. So it's a good job the camera cuts off there for me. As you kind of talk about, like, you won't really get an idea for the players until you see them on the pitch and kind of they're into that cut and thrust of games. I know we've only been back in kind of contact training for a couple of weeks. Maybe coming to you, Adam, what's that look like for those of us that see the training pictures and think, oh, they're back in training? What does kind of a typical week look like at the moment for the boys?
Oh, look, it's still very much, close contact time is very minimal. Social distancing, the group sizes still aren't what we'd ideally want them to be. But no, like, you take your hat off the guys like Mike Lancaster, Gaz Tong, obviously, these guys have run the sort of program before the coaches got back in, and Graham Bowbank, probably goes in, unseen about all the stuff he does and the amount of stuff. He literally does everything, and so you can't underestimate what planning these guys have done just to get us back in shape and ready to go, and the testing and whatever. But it's been, I'm sharing a flat with Sean Long, and I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's slamming doors like hell. It's clean off.
Is he angry he didn't get the invite?
I don't know what's happened. I think he's he's kicked off a bit. Anyway, no, look, it's good. You know, we've managed to get some good set piece work in this week, breakdown as well, and I think we're going running quite smooth at the moment, and we're looking okay.
Nice. Now, I'm not sure whether to ask more questions or ignore the fact you said you're sharing a flat with Sean Long, because I don't know if that's a whole separate event in and of itself. We might need a few more hours to cover off. I guess
he's generally just set the fire alarm off.
well, if it's, I mean, keep your hands to the door. If it's warm, then we'll excuse you for leaving, but otherwise you've got to stay on the call. And we kind of talked a bit about kind of what the return to training has looked like, and kind of how you guys are assessing the squad. And I guess we can't really look too much further ahead because there's so many unknowns still in terms of, as you rightly say, Jerry, how they'll be when they get on the pitch. And Adam, you sort of mentioned it. If this had come in your career, it would have been a nightmare having this break away from rugby, and kind of going back into your career. Jerry, you said as a younger player, all you wanted to do was play. And I remember we were chatting a couple of weeks ago, and I said, well, obviously you never wish injury on the person wearing your shirt, but when you want that, when you see the opportunity, you've just got to grab it. And you said, oh no, I wished injury on him.
Well, not quite as coldy as you put me there, but I think the reality is that, and Adam would probably echo my sentiment in that, like in teams like the Ospreys and in the Welsh team, you know, I think a big part of it is the players have to build trust with coaches. So you know, if a coach puts you in the team one week and then you don't play particularly well, and that's your first shot and he drops you, well then it's you know, it's hard to build a rapport with the coach from there. But when a coach says, listen, I'm going to back you here, I'm going to put you in the team, you know, it can often mean that guys get in and they become the incumbent, and it's very hard to get them out. It's almost sometimes harder to get out of the team than to get in. So as a young player, it can be frustrating, but like, if your goal is to play for your club, your local club, whatever that is, or if your goal is to play for your country, and you're driven on that, then you're willing to play the long game on that.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very much a case of that. I had to go away from Munster. I played a couple of years in Connacht. I came back to Munster again, and my performances weren't at a level that I was forcing my way into the team. So I was unfortunate for Frankie Sheehan, who was a very good player ahead of me, but he injured his neck, and then that gave me my shot. And then from then on, it's a case of, listen, you've got your opportunity now. What are you going to do with it? So I was lucky that I came into a team with some fantastic players, and I just did my job reasonably well, and that's where I kicked off. That's where my career kicked off from there.
Very, very modest, and very modest of you to say it went relatively well, Jerry. And Adam, how about you? How did you kind of get your first break in the team? Was it an injury, or was it just, you know, they spotted you and went, this guy's got to play, he's the best?
I don't really know. Breaking the team, or
yeah, kind of how you got that first foothold in the team, kind of became a regular starter.
I was lucky. I kind of when it was before regional rugby with Neath, and I had a guy called Andrew Millward, who was was the starting title for Neath at the time, and I started playing a little bit. I started kind of come off the bench, starting to start a few more games, and the fact he was willing to help me and willing to help me develop my game, my scrum, and that kind of give me the confidence sort of in my game then. So when I was playing starting week in, week out with Neath, it was it was not, it was all down to him, but he sort of helped me along the way, and any advice and stuff. So I was lucky. There's been a lot of ups and downs since then, and it was never particularly easy, especially, internationally wise. But I think the fact that there's someone, I guess that's where I spent a lot of time with Sink and Collier, kind of because how good Andrew Millward was with me, and just to, spend as much time with those boys and try to help them kick on a bit.
And I guess that's an interesting point that you kind of made there, Adam, that those experiences from those senior heads around you, kind of when you're a young player breaking through, they're the ones that almost shape the sort of senior player and young coach that you want to be. Jerry, would you kind of say that rings true for you, for the experiences that you had with some of those more senior guys at Munster when you were kind of breaking into the team?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's, you know, if you put it in context and look at Adam's position, you know, most kids when they start playing rugby, you know, they get the ball in their hands and they're throwing it around, they're having fun, and you know, they're running and they're tackling. But there's very few kids who understand what it is to be a tight head prop. You know, it's the pressure that goes through that. So for, you know, to have a coach who's a specialist in that area, you know, for the likes of Will Collier, Simon Carrad, for, you know, Sinclair when he was there, for Wilco Lowe coming in now, the fact that they have someone who understands what that, you know, who understands the pressures on that position and understands, you know, it doesn't always go right for you. But when you've got someone who understands that, you know, it's a big resource to lean on. So for me, when I came into Munster, I suppose, you know, Keith Wood was there, and, you know, he went to the same school as me, and, you know, he was obviously a fantastic player, obviously played for Quins as well. So, you know, I reached out to Keith Wood when I was, you know, struggling with some aspects of my game, and, you know, he afforded me time, and he afforded me some, you know, coming down, helping me with my game, and I really appreciated it. I think specialist coaching is maybe it's, you know, it became very much the, you know, it came very much to the forefront. But I think with COVID now coming in, I think coaches will probably need to be specialists in one area, but generalists as well at the same time. And, you know, I think that's a big thing with the coaching group that we have here in Quins, in that, like, you look at someone like Paul Gustard, who's, you know, top class on line-out play, who's top class on defence. You've got Sean Long, who's like an expert on running lines and, you know, playing micro skills. And then you've got Nick Evans, whose overall attack philosophy is so intertwined with the DNA of the club. And then we've got Adam there, who's you know, I don't think you're going to find someone who knows more about scrummaging and about the tight forward play than that. So from my point of view, I came over here and said, well, look, I have a specific skill set which I've used for the last few years in Munster. I can add to what's here in Quins, but I can also, from a selfish point of view, I can mine so much information from the other coaches around me, and that's something I have been actively doing, like a sponge, going in there and just trying to listen. The biggest thing in coaching is listening to the other guys and seeing things through other people's eyes. It's been a real education for me.
Well, that's an interesting point you make around coaches having to be specialists, but also more and more so having to become generalists, I guess, to have an overview of the whole game. It's not enough to just focus on your area and go, well, that works for us. And I guess that is similar to kind of what you both talked about with teamwork on the playing side, that if you're willing to go out there and put your body on the line for your friends, then that's going to make you a better rugby team on the pitch. It must be the same for you guys as coaches. If you have that really strong bond as coaches and you'll buy into a similar philosophy but aren't afraid to challenge each other, then that's only going to improve you guys as a group as well. Would that be fair to say, Adam?
Yes.
Lovely. Going on to kind of, we touched on your playing career when you guys kind of started out and the experienced heads that were around you. You both then rose through the ranks and established yourself on the international stage for Wales and Ireland, and faced up against each other one or two times. There's a question that's come in here that I'm going to let them ask it from, who was it here? I think it was Simon, because it absolves me from asking a challenging question. And Adam, I'll come to you first. Who got the upper hand in the scrum most, and how, when the two of you fronted up to each other in the Six Nations?
I'd probably say when we, even with, you know, Ireland, Wales, and certainly Ospreys, Munster, it was always quite pretty even. I think you know, both good scrums, you know, both technically good scrums. You know, I can't really remember any game like we hammered Munster. Maybe we did once in the European Cup. I don't think Jerry was playing then. I think they were second choice hooker was playing in the Liberty Stadium. I think we did well in the scrum that night. But no, man, they were so good. They was, you know, there was a reason they were the best team in Europe for, you know, you're not, you know, they used to bag. I think it was one of those things used to wreck me when I was playing for Wales. It was like, it was always, oh, we'll attack John Hayes, and not scrum wise in phase play, and we'll attack Ronan O'Gara. You know, these guys have both played 100 test matches for the country. That's why you're talking to a guy you just pulled off the street. I'm listening to sometimes our attack coaches and like, oh, you know, whoever it was saying these things, this is what we'll do with this, and this is how easy he's going to get them. Like, I mean, we're kidding ourselves here. It's like, it was absolute, some of the stuff they used to say was ridiculous because, you know, both played 100 test matches. You're going to know how to defend. You know, even if it's, you're not the best defender in the world or whatever, you're going to know. Or you know, your lines, your angles or whatever. So it was but they were so good. And Munster was such a good side, and, you know, we never, I remember going out in 2009 in the quarterfinals of the European Cup, and we got and we had a good side. We had like good players playing. And we got, I think it was just after Ireland won the Grand Slam, and we got absolutely pumped. I think it was like 40 odd points in the quarterfinals of the European Cup. And it was embarrassing, you know, because it wasn't embarrassing because, like, they were such a good side, and they may have gone on and won it that year, but I can't remember. But no, they were such a good team, and we just, you know, it was a couple of good, we had a decent win here and there against them, but, you know, scrum-wise, it was never, you know, pretty, I'd say over the course of my career, it was quite, there's a lot of parity there, I think. They used to have a few wily old characters. I think you talk about Frankie and Marcus Horan and these type of guys, you know, just they knew very good, clever scrummagers.
That's very diplomatic. And Jerry, would you agree, kind of fairly even between the two sides in the set piece, if not always on the scoreline?
Listen, I think Adam is being very, very modest there in terms of, we actually spoke, earlier today when I told you about that game we played. I think it was in 2010 when you came to Thomond Park, and the drilling I got there. And listen, I think that, like, it's never like, because everyone is training as hard as they can at that level when you get to test rugby or to, you know, at the top level in European Cup or in the Pro 14 when we'll be playing the Ospreys. Everyone is, you know, it's not like there's one team that's not really trying. Everyone is trying their best. So it's not like one team is going to destroy the other at set piece. But, you know, you definitely, when we would go in against the Ospreys, we would say, listen, they're going to have Hibbard, they're going to have, you know, they're going to have Jones, they're going to have Duncan Jones, they're going to have Adam Jones. So we knew that they would be a real challenge for us as a pack every single time. And not only allied to that, but they also, like, the Welsh have always, all of their forwards have been, you know, tremendously skillful players. So it's not a case of saying we just need to defend 4 players out of their 15. You're trying to defend every single player because they've all got a really good skill set, and passing forwards create space. And I think the Welsh players now are, you know, some of the most skillful players that I've come across. So not only did I get beaten up in the scrum a little bit, but also, like, got made look like a bit of a clown around the pitch as well. But look, it evens itself out over the course of a career. But I would say that Adam and the Ospreys and the Welsh boys give us a bit of a doing over the time. But, you know, we did okay.
Yeah, you did okay.
And for both you, kind of interwove stories there of playing at club level and at international level. There's such different games, I guess, international test rugby versus club rugby. Which did you guys prefer to play in? Taking away kind of the pompous area representing the country, which games were more enjoyable for you guys in that front row?
The ones that went well, really, I think. Yeah, I think. No, I got to be honest with you, I love going to Thomond Park. I was lucky to play before it was all been jazzled up, and you know, it looks amazing, amazing stadium. I was lucky to play there years ago, and so look, it was, the atmosphere is unreal. And I think we spoke about this with Jerry the other day about the game they pumped us, and the best part of the day for me was the whole crowd singing is the Black Velvet Band, the Tommy Bow. It was unreal because we were getting, I think we were 40 points down the time we were going to win, and the whole crowd just started singing this song, and Tommy was just like, yeah, cheers boys. But it was just unreal. The fans there are so good. It's just hostile, but, like, you know, they know they're rugby, but, you know, it's not hostile in a horrible way. You know, they're not some couple of teams in France, but, you know, it's massively passionate towards Munster, and, you know, knowledgeable. You know, but if you get a win out there, you know, they're the first ones to give you kind of a tap in the back, and which, you know, didn't very happen very often. But no, I said, you know, Lansdowne Road, the old Lansdowne Road was amazing to play at. A bit windy, but very, you know, great place to play at. I don't think I played the new one, and I did enjoy. We played in Croke Park in 2008, which was, you know, an unbelievable experience. And yeah, fortunately we won the Triple Crown the same day, but it was a great experience to play there. You know, So like,
I imagine that probably helped. The Triple Crown probably just added to that.
We're Celts, so you obviously got an affection for the Irish boys, and it's just playing out there is it's unreal because when I was with the Ospreys, we played in a 20,000 seater stadium where we probably get about 6,000 or 7,000 at a push. But to go there and sample a proper rugby stadium, a proper rugby crowd was it never got old, and it was one of those things you always wanted to play the Munster away games.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Jerry? Any kind of particular moments, or kind of whether it was more in a Munster shirt or in an Ireland shirt that you played the rugby you enjoyed the most?
Oh, look, I think the things that stand out from your career, and Adam will probably say the same thing, they're not really the moments on the pitch. It's more like, in the dressing room after games and stuff like that. And, those moments, because when you're playing, you're so in the moment, you're so present there that it's hard to take it all in. Even now, like I'll try and remember back on old games where I thought I played really well, and then I might look at one of them on my laptop and be like, oh my God, I was terrible there, But I, looking back on it, if I'm really, really honest, I love playing for Ireland. I absolutely love playing for Ireland, love representing my country. But I was always proudest when I played for Munster, because I suppose I was playing, they were all my best friends when I was playing with Munster,
Yeah.
And I think it's something I look. I'm great friends with some of the players up in Leinster and Connacht and Ulster as well that I played with. But I think that you spend so much of your time investing in the club environment and wanting that to be the best thing that it can be. And as a supporter, you grow up supporting Munster. You go to the games. You idolise the players. Then you go on to you're lucky enough to play with them, that you just want to. Everyone talks about leaving the jersey in a better place than when you first got it, and it sounds like a cliche. And if I was listening to it from externally, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sick of listening to this stuff. But it's genuine. It is real, and I know that if I had played in a different club that I possibly wasn't as passionate about it, I probably wouldn't have achieved 1/10 of what I did, because I know that playing for a club like Munster really elevated me as a player. I got to play with players who were so much better than me, who made me better than I was, and afforded me opportunities in rugby that I didn't think I would ever have. And it gave me huge confidence then to go on and do other things from that. I think I would always have looked at myself as never a very, very talented player, but very determined and with a good work ethic. And I think then when you come out of rugby, then you go, okay, well, I wasn't the best rugby player, but I won a lot of things and I had a great time. I achieved a lot. And that was just with a work ethic and, applying myself. So if I try that in other areas, whether that's coaching or whether that's anything else, I think that, it gives you a good model, a good framework, because when you go to do new things, you're nervous. So I think that, rugby gave me a lot there.
No, really, really interesting. And look, I've got pages and pages of notes here that I've made from chatting to you two guys, and I think I probably ticked off about 3 of the questions I prepared beforehand, because just got interested in having a chat with you. So before I kind of wrap up this evening in kind of 10-15 minutes or so, I'll actually turn to the questions that people have sent in, and I'll put my notes away, as I think a few of you on the call have sent in some really interesting stuff. So we'll kind of go through these in no particular order. An interesting one from John here, who says, just one for both of you, and Adam, I'll come to you first on it. What's your career highlight? Difficult to pick one out, but if you had to pick that one moment out, what would that be?
Probably the third test with the Lions in 2013, probably, I'd imagine. I was lucky to, a few Grand Slams and stuff, and a few things with the Ospreys, but I was, lucky to go on one tour and, 9, and then to go on the next one, and, to win it was, it was pretty special, I think. And, I'd probably have to put it up there. Beating England's obviously nice. To stop them winning the Grand Slam, that was good. But, definitely the Lions, I think.
Nice. And Jerry?
This one, obviously, when we won the European Cup in 2006 with Munster, after so many, after so many failed attempts, that was huge. But for me, I think I was leaving school a year early, and we got knocked out of the school's cup that year by a rival school, and I made a promise to myself that I was going to go back and I'd do another year in school, and that we would try and win the school's cup the following year. And I repeated it. I repeated that year, and we won. We beat the team that had knocked us out of the cup. Now, unfortunately, we didn't go on to win it ultimately, but it only really hit me as I was coming into the few nights coming into that game, and we're lying in bed. I was like 17 years of age and clenching my fists and thinking of playing the game. And I was so psyched up for it that when we actually won, it was such a relief for me. And that was probably the game, the biggest relief for me, and the one that gave me the most. I suppose no kid really wants to be in school, So I think the fact that, there was such a draw for me that I wanted to go back and beat that team, that I said, I'm going to do another year of school just so we can go back and beat these guys. That, it only was kind of resonating with me as we got closer to it. That, oh my God, if we lose this game, this has been a disaster. I spent another year in school. I could have been in college partying and having a laugh. So probably playing for St. Munchins against Arsenal Reach and beating them in 97.
Wow, it certainly says something for your determination, Jerry. Which actually brings us on to another question here from anonymous attendee. Thank you. What a lovely and original name. And born for both of you. And Adam, as Jerry finished that answer about his school days, I'll come to you first. Which is, in your opinion, what does it take to become a professional rugby player for a kid? What advice, maybe a better way of phrasing it, perhaps, would be, what advice would you give to a young player who enjoys playing rugby at school but wants to make it a career?
Look, I think if you're young, you've got to enjoy it, and you've got to spend as much time, just enjoying rugby, and don't get too het up position-wise and etc. But the older you get, then the more you have to work hard. You have to, certainly I didn't really. I think I was a decent player in schoolboy level, but I wasn't, I didn't work hard. I was lazy, and a lot of these type of players, pass by, and they never make it. But no, I think you got to work hard. But I think a lot of it's enjoyment. I think you got to enjoy doing it. Don't be forced into it by people, and if your mother and father or friends or whatever, you don't be forced into doing it. But if you get out, like Jerry said, if you got a work ethic, that's what that's what you look for in a lot of players. How hard they work. You can have that you can have that bit of talent, but if he's just wants to sit back and just chill out and all want to chase back for his teammates, then 9 times out of 10 he's not going to be picked against the guy who's maybe not as skillful as him, and but doesn't have that desire to look after his teammates as much as he does. But no, I think it's a tough one, because I guess I was before any academies came through. So, and I speak to a lot of people, our parents, and, if they get picked for the under 15, 16 sort of regional side, it's like, shit, we're going to be, the next step. And he's been playing for the Ospreys first team with Tibrick and Alan Wynne and these type of guys. And it's like, so you got to kind of manage, I guess, as a parent, to manage the kids' expectations and definitely your own expectations as well. But I think, enjoy it and work as hard as you possibly can. And if you're like me, sort your diet out early doors.
I'm laughing, but I'm not saying anything else there because I'm still scared of you. And Jerry, what about you? What advice would you give to a young player who's kind of got their eye on making it as a pro?
I would say Adam absolutely hit the nail on the head there. I'd say you have to enjoy it. So just enjoy it. It needs to be fun. And if you're passionate about something, then it's going to be a lot easier for you than if you're not passionate about it. I think that, from a generalist point of view, if you look at anything, if you want to be successful at anything, you've got to work hard. So that's the same for rugby as it is for any job, any career, any profession. Specifically, I would say they should just, like Adam said as well, I would not focus on specifics around a position. I would say get good at your catch pass skills, the basics of the game are catch pass, your handling, your catching of the ball, your passing of the ball, your evasion skills when you're carrying the ball, your breakdown, and your tackling. If you've got those 4 things, you're pretty well equipped to go forward in professional rugby. So just focus on the basics. If you're 10 years of age, just focus on getting really, really good at catching the ball and passing the ball, at running and sidestepping, you know, at being able to, maybe clean outs aren't going to be such a big deal when you're a kid, but there'll be aspects of the game that you can really, really work on, and just have fun with it. If you have fun with it, then it won't seem like a job, and you'll be able to work at it all day, and you just keep getting better, keep getting better.
Interesting. And there's a question that sort of builds on from that from A. Lynn, which I imagine is not just A. Lynn, but probably first initial A, which is what do coaches, it's like particularly you guys, what do you look for those guys that are going to make it to the highest level, and how would you get noticed? Kind of go on to say, I guess it comes down to determination, I guess, right, in that work ethic, because the rest you can teach or coach. Yeah,
obviously, I guess if you're looking for an academy sort of age tight end, you know, you want sort of raw, academy sort of prop, the front row, you're looking for those raw sort of, you know, he's a big kid, or, you know, sometimes how athletic. But I think it does come down to determination. I think, you know, there's no secret formula, but I think, you know, hard work beats a lot, you know, and I just think, you know, getting noticed is, you know, sometimes it's just what, right place, right time, you know, sort of the stars align, you know. It's just a personal example. I was lucky to have there was an under-21 league starting in Wales, you know, so each Welsh team had an under-21 team, and, you know, I went to Strockter beneath training on a Tuesday night, and, you know, it went from there. So it was, you know, it's a lot of times right place, you know, injuries or whatever, but, you know, you get noticed by being, you know, tough, working hard, and, you know, not being, you know, there's other ways you get noticed as well, but I think a lot of the time people don't want to be noticed like that, and certainly coaches wouldn't want to pick that type of player. But yeah, I think look, it's the same as the other question for me. Is you work hard and that sort of mindset to win. I think.
Nice. And Jerry, I imagine you echo quite a lot of what Adam would say there.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. It's like, Joe, the question you asked me about my own career, about like trying to get a shot, you have to be resilient, because things aren't always going to go your way. But if you're passionate about the game, you're not going to be so focused on the outcome. It's not a case of, well, I didn't get picked, so I'm not really into rugby anymore. If you love the game, you'll keep working hard at it, because it's not a job, it's a passion. And like Adam said, then, you know, your opportunity will come. And if you've been working hard, then hopefully you'll be able to take it. If not, keep working hard. And if that opportunity didn't work out, then the next one will come for you.
Nice. And then there's a couple of questions here on a sort of similar theme. So I'll try and wrap them together and hopefully not do too much of a ham-fisted job of that. But Richard, an anonymous attendee, and Ellie have sent in questions all around the theme of kind of the return of rugby. Richard sort of kicks it off by saying, personal opinion aside, and just for this room alone, do you personally think that this season should have been cancelled, and that we should have reopened with next season, and kind of what the wider implications of that maybe don't necessarily make too much sense to go in for, but kind of what your kind of gut tells you on that. And I guess that kind of links in with someone else asked in terms of what will happen with rugby. I think we've got a plan to return in August now and kind of finish the domestic season by the middle of October. And then once you've answered that in terms of what your view is on the return to play, if you could change one law of the game, hypothetically, in this return to play, to kind of speed the games up or make the games more entertaining post-lockdown, what would that be for you guys? So a lot wrapped up in that one, but Jerry, I'll come to you first on that.
Well, look, I think it's important that the season was finished out. I think if you look at it from a player, like people are talking about player welfare now, the players have had, you know, the bones of 4 months off now, so, you know, the body should be in pretty good shape. I understand that it is far from ideal to try and, you know, pack in as many games as we're going to try and do it now, but, you know, we can't be living in a false reality either, is that the game is, you know, financially, money needs to come in, you know, TV money needs to come in. games need to be completed so that people understand where they're going to finish in the league, who's going to qualify for Europe the following year, who's going to win the league. These are all important things, and whilst it's going to stretch teams, it's going to stretch squads over the next few months. I think we're also going to see a lot of young lads getting an opportunity, and we're going to see about, if you're just a club that relies on buying in top class foreign players for big money, those players can't play every single week. So it's the clubs that are actually investing in their underage, who are bringing through young players as well. They're the teams that will probably, that will balance themselves out over it. And I think it's very, very necessary that we finish this season and get back into next season. I think if anything, we're just going to see more young talent coming through. Some guys will do well. Some guys may not be ready for it yet, but they'll get a shot, and then maybe they'll be better positioned than when they come back in. So I would say finishing the season is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and then maybe Adam, kind of building on that, as we do come back from this kind of hiatus, this enforced hiatus in the season, if you could change one law of the game coming up to these games, what would you personally like to see to make the games more exciting?
More exciting. I think they're trying the 40-20 sort of rule in the Southern Hemisphere. Look, a lot of these rules are kind of made up by Southern Hemisphere sort of guys, and who want to kind of negate the scrums and etc. and that type of stuff. So I'm very much of a I want the scrum to stay, and but I think the one for me, I think, and a lot of people get a bit frustrated, is with scrum resets, which can be frustrating, it can be annoying, it can be time consuming. Yeah, for me it's just simple. We all referees got to watch such as fourth official. Like, just stop the clock. If you're worried about losing time in the game, stop the clock if it's a reset. Stop. You don't have to. But the 30 seconds before they set up again, then put the clock on. So I know it's not the most exciting thing. I mean, it's something that kind of I obviously want scrums to happen, and otherwise I'll be out of a job. So but I think I want I think it's just I get it's frustrating, but I think, and maybe there might be a limit on how many resets you can have or whatever. But I think stopping the clock for me is just who knows, in that minute and a half you've lost in the scrum, someone it gives you that minute and a half extra at the end of the game to score a try, or to win the game or see the game out. So not the most exciting one, but I'd like that.
No, lovely. No, that's an excellent answer. And conscious on the time front, that we're over the hour now, so I've got on the Q&As that have been sent in, I've got one quick fire question for each of you, and then we'll wrap up with one last one. So Jerry, I'll come to you first on your quick fire one. This is from Tom Lewis, who says, have you talked to Chris Ashton yet about his trip to Burger King in Limerick?
Okay, good question, Tom. I have. I actually, some of my friends were saying it to me. Said, "Oh, remember that time about Chris Ashton getting dump tackled in Burger King?" And I think that the kid who dump tackled him, he was, for people who don't know, it was after Northampton Saints played Munster in a European Cup game, and I think Chris Ashton was recovering from the game in Burger King at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I think a Munster fan took it on him to go and try and dump tackle him, and did dump tackle him, and then ran away. And then Chris was on a podcast talking about it, and that young lad rang in. I actually know that kid because he used to give me a lot of stick on Twitter all the time, and I was like, when I saw it, then I said, I know who this fella is. So yeah, I spoke to Ashley about it, and he was laughing. It was taken well. So
good. And then Tom. Also has a question for you, Adam, which is, and I feel like he may have typecast you here a bit, Adam. He said, "Bomb, what is your favourite Jolly Hog product? I'm a fan of the Porky Back." And he says, "P.S. Foster's get some brains bitter." That's his words, not mine.
Oh, look, well, obviously Jolly Hog do loads of different fantastic products with Quinn's very own phone. He hasn't sent me a care package for a long time now. So if he does get wind of this conversation tonight, I would like one sent in the post pretty soon, because as a fellow Welsh international, he used to look after me, but he's dropped off in recent years. But mate, he's done so well for himself. I'm chuffed a bit for him. When he came into the Welsh squad, all we knew was this big lump from Harlequin is just, was he 21, 22 stone, and he's a great bloke, and I'm mega chuffed about how well he's done, and his brothers. So.
Awesome. So that's just a shameless plug for if Ollie or any of the Cohn brothers are listening.
Exactly.
There's a Welshman in need of a delivery of sausages.
Yeah,
And then the last one, just to kind of wrap up for both of you. This is from Phil, who says, who puts on the best party after a Six Nations match, the Welsh or the Irish?
We were
No
talking
prizes
about
for.
this earlier. We were talking about this earlier, Bob.
we were talking about it. I got to be honest with you, Ireland was one of the last places used to do the old school. You'd sit with the opposition players. After in the dinner, the black tie dinner, and I used to love that. I was great. When I was young, I used to get put on the front row table, and I'd be on there with Reggie Corrigan, Shane Byrne, John Hayes, and I can't remember a lot about those nights, but it was definitely an experience going on there. I was spending an after-match dinner with those fellas. But look, you can't knock the Irish hospitality, so I'll admit defeat on that one.
and Jerry, are you sticking with home loyalty, or are you going to be equally civil and say the Welsh?
No, I think the Irish is a pretty good party, man. Dublin is pretty banging on the night of a Six Nations game or any international. So and I've had plenty of good nights out with the Welsh lads there. So and if Guzzy was talking about it today as well when we were chatting about just some of our. You just end up talking old school rugby tales and just saying what a good time he'd had when he was in Dublin as well. So yeah, I think Dublin pips it on that one.
Yeah.
One for the Irish.
I'll give him it.
I have to say, as a clean sweep, I vote for Dublin as well. I definitely went there for an England-Ireland or an Ireland-England match, and I'm told that I had a great time. But instead of setting my alarm for work the next morning, I took a picture of my shoes. So that pretty much sums up how good a night I had in Dublin as well during the Six Nations.
You wouldn't let you, and you'd need ID there, wouldn't you?
I need ID to buy paracetamol.
You were looking about 50.
It's been an easy life. That's the trick. I haven't done a day's hard work in it. Guys, thank you so much for chatting with us all tonight. I've had a text from Mark Leckie, who's the ruler of all things Queen's Foundation, to say on behalf of the whole foundation and indeed the whole club, thank you for giving up your evening to talk to us. Thank you to everyone that's joined and listened and donated to the foundation. We sadly know that we can't see you at the Stoop for the first game, but hopefully it's not too long before we can get some fans back in supporting the boys in the quarters at the Stoop. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a million, Joe.
Cheers, Joe.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Cheers.